welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're having an incredible month of December so far, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing 8 things that I did or things that I set in place in order to ensure that I was making time for my art and progressing towards my artistic goals while I was still working at an incredibly demanding full-time position and even working overtime. If you're new here at my channel, welcome. I am super happy you're here. Consider subscribing because every single week I share a new video with art tips, drawing and painting tutorials, and encouragement for aspiring artists. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to click on the little notification bell so that YouTube can let you know whenever I publish a new video. Okay everyone, let's get into the tips. Okay everyone, so before I actually get started with the tips, I really want to let you guys know that until around 3 years ago maybe, I thought I'd be working normal full-time jobs for the rest of my working life. Even though I've always been a creative person and I studied for a creative degree, and I guess you could also say that I've been working at creative full-time positions, I was honestly so lost and had such a low perception of myself that the idea of becoming a working artist and creating a sustainable income through my work and my skills just simply didn't register. Not to mention, I've never really been in an economic position to be able to allow myself a year off from not working to discover myself or work on my art or anything like that. I've always had very demanding full-time jobs ever since before leaving university. Until I was around 30 years old, I thought that I'd have to accept and live with the fact that I was going to have to work full-time jobs that left me unfulfilled and even depressed. And this is not to say that all of those jobs didn't help me grow both personally and professionally a ton. I feel that I wouldn't really be here today. I wouldn't have the confidence and the skills to be able to put myself out there in this way if I hadn't gone through those experiences. So I am very, very thankful for having had those opportunities for work that allowed me to grow so much. Okay, so having said all that, the 8 points in the list that I'm going to be sharing today are things that I actually put in place myself while I was still working at my last highly demanding full-time position that had me working overtime. I was leaving my house before 7 a.m. and coming back 12 hours later if I was lucky. And these 8 points are things that I made sure to apply during this time in order to progress my artistic skills and start selling my work. It was through putting in the work and working on developing my artistic skills that I started to gain confidence to put my work out there. And then I got even more confident when I started seeing that people were liking and appreciating my work enough to buy it. And as time went by with me consistently working on my art, I started investigating, researching what it's like to actually be able to have an art business and be able to make a sustainable income through my art. And this is when I decided to set goals and put plans in place in order to finally leave all of these years of being a full-time employee and be able to pursue creative entrepreneurship. I'm going to be leaving a link to a past YouTube video that I created in which I go much more in depth in terms of the specifics and what I did to prepare to leave so many years of being a full-time employee and how I knew I was ready to pursue creative entrepreneurship. That's going to be down below in the description box in case you want to go and check that out. Okay, moving on to the very first tip, and this is, in my opinion, first and foremost before everything else, and this is to acknowledge and embrace and love that you are a creative being at heart. For me, this was incredibly difficult because there are no other artists in my family, and everyone close to me has normal 9-to-5 jobs. So I never really had a close example of somebody else who shared my need for creation. And even though my family, my friends, they never diminished or set aside my artwork, they encouraged me to keep going and everything like that. I think that being brought up in the society that I was brought up in, for some reason, I always felt guilty inside for making time for my own art. And that is something that is very, very toxic. And that is something that I definitely had to get rid of since the beginning by acknowledging and embracing who I am. I consider myself extremely lucky for having a family that encouraged me to pursue my dreams. But if you are in a position in which you have family and friends that diminish what you're doing, then you have to learn to tune out what they're asking of you and give more importance to your own wants and needs, because this is your life, it's not theirs. I think as long as you're being smart about how you pursue your dreams and you're being practical, you're being realistic about how it's going to take time for you to actually make an income from it, and you're not harming anyone else, then go for it. Always keep your end goal in the forefront of your mind. It doesn't really matter what job you're currently working at, because that job is just a stepping stone and a resource for you to be able to get to where you want to go. And I find it incredibly helpful to be always mindful and thankful for all of the growth and the possibilities that your current job offers you, because you're able to grow a lot from those kinds of experiences, and it's giving you the resources to live and to create art and to progress your skills while not having to worry about not being able to pay the bills. Moving on to tip number 2, this is going to be to prioritize your artistic growth and rearrange your current routine. In order to make improvement in any area of our lives, we really need to prioritize our goals, we need to create plans, and we need to see them through. It may be easy to make plans, but staying consistent day to day is difficult, especially when we're so busy. But it's absolutely essential to prioritize your artistic growth, to schedule it in. It doesn't matter if it's 20 minutes 3 times a week, but schedule it in and stay consistent with it. It's going to be these tiny steps in the right direction that over time is going to lead to a lot of growth. And believe me, I know how absolutely aggravating and frustrating it can be to want nothing more than to work on your art and have something else pop up that you have to take care of. These things are bound to happen, and some things are beyond our control, but as long as you stay consistent on a weekly basis, you're going to be making progress. Try to think of the things that are in your control, like for example, the amount of time that you spend on social media or watching TV. I know how tempting it can be to come home and want to just veg out on a couch after having spent all day working, but at the same time, it's kind of gross how many hours the average person spends watching TV and on social media. Think of ways that you can reduce that time that you spend on activities that aren't going to get you closer to your goals. So just as an example, if you currently spend at least 2 or 3 hours watching TV once you get home from work, then maybe you can make it a point to spend only 1 hour relaxing and then work on your artwork at least for 1 hour or even half an hour before going to bed. Something else that you could do is set your alarm clock for 20-30 minutes earlier before you usually get up, and doing a quick sketch before going off to work or wherever it is you have to be, or maybe doing a quick sketch during your lunchtime. Or if you absolutely cannot for the life of you find time during the week to work on your art, then what you could do is set aside weekend mornings. Making any sort of significant progress is going to require some level of sacrifice on your part, but it's so worth it in the end. And you're totally entitled to your rest and your relaxation, and this is something that is extremely important for your mental health. But at some point you have to draw the line, because if you're not conscious, you're just wasting valuable time. One question that I frequently ask myself is, will this activity help me improve my work, my health, or the relationships that I have with my loved ones in any way? Something that I feel is also essential, and I want to mention it within this second point, is the importance of learning to say no. And I know how difficult this can be because I'm a people pleaser myself, but if you think about it, weeks of our lives can go by fulfilling favors that we need to do for other people, or going to social commitments that we feel obligated to go to, and at the same time we're being bombarded by all of these people that are pulling our attention in all of these different directions. And the fact of the matter is that you need to set those clear boundaries and stay focused on your goals in order to get anywhere. Tip number 3, and this is very much related to the last one, is to establish deadlines and goals for yourself. As I was mentioning before, with all of our daily responsibilities and all of these things that tend to pop up from out of nowhere, there's a much higher probability that we are going to do something if we actually schedule things in and set deadlines. Otherwise, we're just going to push things back and they're never going to get done. I wrote a blog post a while back in which I explain how I go about setting goals for myself in the 3 main areas of my life so that I'm able to then keep at least some sort of balance. These 3 sort of main categories for me are personal, professional, and interpersonal aspects, and all of these 3 are extremely important and equal. For the personal category, I like to think of goals that will help me improve my mental and physical health. The professional category for me is all about establishing goals in regards to my own artistic development, skills I want to improve in, things that I can do to build my business, etc. And the interpersonal category is all about things that I can do to improve my relationships with my friends and family. I'm going to leave you a link to that blog post that I'm talking about down below in the description box, because in it I explain and go much more in depth in terms of secrets and tips and hacks that I personally do in order to stay happy and productive as an artist week to week. And I also walk you through and provide downloadable free worksheets to set and establish those goals, and then move on to scheduling in time every single week to make sure that you are progressing towards them. In terms of setting those goals for your artistic growth, you have to make sure that you are setting goals that are measurable, attainable, and realistic for your specific situation. A good example of a goal that you could set that would help you progress artistically would be to maybe finish an online art course in 3 to 4 months' time. And then you look into that art course and you see how many classes and how many assignments it has, and then you chunk it down into what you're realistically able to do week to week so that you're able to complete that course on the set time. Another clear goal could be to maybe fill 8 pages of your sketchbook in a month. So maybe then you can chunk it down to doing 2 pages a week so that you can make sure that you complete 8 pages by the end of the month. Moving on to tip number 4, this is going to be to connect with others that share your same passion for art. So this is extremely helpful because not only is being an artist lonely, but having friends that you can create or share art with can help you stay motivated, consistent, and accountable. The internet presents an amazing opportunity for people like myself that don't have other artists around to engage with. With the internet, you can very easily find groups, participate in drawing or painting challenges, and even join membership sites and classes that are designed to move you forward artistically. There are so many resources available to us through the internet, and it is so easy to connect with other artists all over the world that kind of share our same wavelength, that I honestly don't think that there has ever been a better time to be an artist. Moving on to tip number 5, and this is to keep your art supplies handy. Get in the habit of bringing a small sketchbook and a couple of drawing supplies with you wherever you go so that you can practice your observational skills and your drawing skills in free pockets of time that you have throughout the day. Aside from this, also make sure that you're keeping your art supplies somewhere visible at home and not locked away in a closet or a drawer. The more visible and accessible your art supplies are for you, the more likely you are to use them. Tip number 6 is to never underestimate the power of quicker studies. If you've seen any of my past drawing videos or have been to my blog and read any of my blog posts, you probably already know that I am a huge believer in keeping a sketchbook habit throughout our artistic journeys. Not only do I believe that drawing is the basis and absolute foundation for all kinds of art and that we should be constantly refining our drawing skills and progressing our observational skills, but I also believe that it is through smaller sketches and explorations that we get to know ourselves as artists, we get to know what techniques come naturally to us, and we get to build up that confidence to take on larger projects. I 100% believe that working on smaller sketches or explorations 3 to 4 times a week is going to get you much further faster than creating one polished painting every 5 months. Now, it's entirely possible, don't get me wrong, to create a beautiful looking polished piece 2 to 3 times a year by following a tutorial or going to a short class or workshop, but this isn't going to do much in terms of helping you develop your artistic voice and style. The important thing is to make your art a habit, no matter how small or large your drawings or paintings are. Tip number 7 is going to be to collect ideas as you go through your day. So even if a couple of days went by in which you didn't have a chance to sit down and create, always keep your art in the forefront of your mind and stay open for ideas and inspiration that can happen at any time and anywhere. Always be collecting ideas for future projects and think of things that you want to improve on. Write notes. Make sure that you are developing a habit for taking reference pictures, and all of these things are ways that you are staying creative without necessarily putting pencil or pen or paintbrush to paper. So tip number 8, which is my final tip for you, is to stop overthinking and just get to work. It's incredible how we are our own obstacles. Many times we stop ourselves from doing the things that we know we need to get done in order to reach our goals because we just overthink everything. In time, I've come to realize that it's through taking imperfect action that we're going to slowly but surely progress towards our goals and not staying paralyzed with laziness or fear. So motivate yourself by thinking of the artist that you'll be a year from now if you just get started today and really take action. We only have one life to live, and time goes by incredibly fast, and it's really up to us and us alone to work for our dreams to come true. Alright everyone, that is it for today. I really hope that you found those tips helpful, and I hope that you get to make time for your art and to work on those things that you're passionate about. I would absolutely love to hear from you in the comment section below. I would love to know what you're struggling with and what your greatest problems are in terms of making time for your art. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next Friday.